Hey, everybody, it's time once again for the program that is literally made up on the spot. Well, sometimes in advance, and sometimes even after the fact. You know why? Because we have no agenda. This is No Agenda, coming to you from the Curry Manor in the United Kingdom. I'm Adam Curry.
And I'm John C. Dvorak up here in Northern California, where we've had a couple of 100-degree days, and I think it's cooling off today, and I can finally see the marine layer out there beyond the Golden Gate Bridge ready to come in and cool us off.
Well, shit, if I knew you were going to give a full weather report, I would have done the same, you know. Actually, let me tell you, I did just come through the clouds from the Netherlands, and I did some amazing instrument flying today. I've gone to a whole new level of airmanship. I'm quite jazzed and adrenalized, actually.
Well, that's sweet.
It is, because there comes this point when you have the confidence to do a number of different things, and actually kind of gets easier when you get to instrument flying, because all you have to do is just follow instructions, and you're really managing the system instead of flying the airplane. But it feels like the oyster that is my world, enlarged a little bit today. I think I can go to more places and do more things.
But you're not going to that doesn't mean you're going to become some sort of a crackpot risk taker.
No, quite the opposite. No. In fact, there's this magical moment, I think, before you get to your instrument rating, where before you really have done instrument flying, because, you know, the thing with instrument flying, and people may know this, but really the main issue is if you're a private pilot, and so you fly under what they call visual flying rules, VFR. That means you can see the ground at all times when you're flying. Because when you go into clouds, and let's just call that a whiteout, because all the windows is just white. You can't see anything. At that point, if you don't know how to read your instruments and fly on your instruments, you will probably wind up upside down within about 7 seconds because of vertigo. And the vertigo thing, or as we call it, the leans, is really quite interesting, because, you know, when you're flying in IMC, so instrument meteorological conditions, you basically have to look at your horizon and keep the aircraft level, and you don't look outside. In fact, you don't even move your head very much, because every movement you make with your head could cause vertigo. And if you're trained in it, you recognize it and you don't do anything wrong, but you still have the same feeling. It's like, I feel like the aircraft is leaning to the left, you know, where really it's leaning to the right or doing something else. It's a very weird sensation, but once you're past it, it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Well, good. Well, then I'll feel more comfortable flying with you.
Would you really get on with me? You'd fly with me, wouldn't you?
Yeah. You're safety oriented and you have you're not crazy. So let's talk a little bit about No Agenda.
The program No Agenda?
Yeah, you've heard of it.
Yeah, surely, along with some 35,000 other people.
So I've been getting a lot of, since I'm doing a lot of Twittering, as you do, I've been getting a lot of commentary regarding the concept of No Agenda and what it means.
Oh, that's interesting.
And so,
okay.
Yeah, they always say, well, in fact, I said on the Twitter, or on a tweet, whatever the hell you want to call it, a tutor earlier, that I'm going to explain what No Agenda means, and then somebody, Uber Chick, I think is who it was, one of my followers, yes. She said, well, then by even saying that means you have an agenda. And see, this is what I'm going to try to point out, is that we're talking about agenda in the meta sense. We're not talking about a show that has no list of things to talk about, or things that we're maybe going to discuss here and there. But by no agenda, we mean we don't have like some sort of a meta agenda. Like we're not trying to sell something. We're not trying to get somebody in office. We're not trying to do anything. We're not scheming. And by agenda in this sense, I mean scheming, planning, plotting.
Yeah, because first of all, it's entertainment. Every show we do is intended to entertain the audience one way or the other. And I think you're right. When you do an entertainment show, of course there's some planning. But the thing that's interesting about this is we typically plan separately. So I have a couple of things. John has a couple of things. But we don't discuss the topics offline. But that has nothing to do with the agenda. It just has to do with the freshness of the conversation.
Right. We don't. Yeah, and we do. And sometimes, like last week, I don't think either one of us had a list of anything to talk about. In fact, the show took a good half hour before it got off the ground. And I also want to mention the fact that because we're doing it on Skype, it does take a little. It takes more than a few minutes before the two of us actually sync.
Tune in. Yep. Absolutely right. Yeah.
With the timing of talking to somebody who is out of phase. Now, even with ISDN, I think would be out of phase because of the distance. Can I just
say one thing about that? Because I'm glad you brought that up. Because I learned a lot about ISDN, and I've been working with it for the past week, doing this thing for Aero Classic Rock in the Netherlands, and I do that with an ISDN connection. And the delay is literally 60 milliseconds. So it is like sitting next to someone. There is no delay, or the delay is so minimal that your brain adjusts to it within seconds.
Yeah, but that's the delay from there to the Netherlands. It's not the delay from there to California, which has got to be one of the longest distances, one of the longest throws for ISDN there is. And I have seen these overseas
Can I just
things.
Say
go
something?
Ahead.
Because I have learned something here. That delay, even to California, would still be minimal. And the reason why, because this is what I've learned, the reason why is you are actually getting two dedicated 64 kilobit circuits. There's no routing, there's no buffering of routers, and of course there's no waiting for packets that were lost along the way. So when I consider the and it's, by the way, it's using an AAC codec, so it's a kind of an open standard, and it's available everywhere. When I consider, though, how easy the ISDN codec makers have it, these boxes, because of that dedicated circuit, I have to say, what the guys at Skype have done, coming up with, what is it, maybe 600 milliseconds, it's a little more than half a second, it feels like. And you can even hear it on the show sometimes, when one of us responds to the other, usually with laughter, there is just that split-second delay. It's almost, sometimes I'll say something, I'm like, wow, I really bombed on that joke, but then the laugh will come in. But still, those guys at Skype have done a phenomenal job with minimizing the latency.
I agree, and it would be probably, if we ever make money on this show, I'll put ISDN in, and as long as and we'll do it that way, because it would be a little better, but it would only be incrementally better, but it would be better. I agree, because a direct shot between you and, because P2P is not really P2P on the internet. It's like, it's kind of P2P, but it's jumping around all over the place in the meantime, right?
Yeah, the bottom layer, the actual packet layer, is jumping around.
Yeah, it's just being passed around the way it works. And but anyway, I actually have a faster connection now. I got my Comcast boosted and to 16 and 3, which is pretty. But when I tested it against the English servers, I was getting 4 and 0.5. Which is still better than I was going to have before.
When did you boost this? Did we have it last week as well?
No, I got it boosted like yesterday on Friday.
Oh, okay, because last week I think we had a show without knock on wood, and don't invite the boogeyman in. But last week we had almost a flawless connection the whole way through.
Yeah, I think it was because what time did we do? I don't know.
It doesn't make that much difference.
No, I think it fell apart once, and which brings me to another point. Well, but let me finish the latency thing first, because a lot of one of the worst kinds of latencies is these are when you see it on broadcasting
with the satellite.
Exactly. One of the cheapest connections you can make. It's very inexpensive to do a satellite link up, and anyone can do it, because you can have a truck come out and put a satellite in your front yard, and you can. But the delay is unbelievably painful.
Yeah, that's probably 1.5 to 2 seconds.
Yeah, it's horrible. Now, on to us. We have some critics out there, and I wanted to answer a question that came up in their discussion, which is...
we have critics? I'm flabbergasted.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good sign, because that means we have a lot of listeners, and there's a lot of people that, let's face it, don't like either one of us. But anyway... But anyway, the thing is, we do this show straight up. We do not stop.
I've heard that too. I'm like, we don't
coffee
fucking edit.
Breaks. Now, what happens now? This does happen, and if you think you're hearing an edit, it's for the following reason, because it didn't happen. I don't think last week, but it might have. Once in a while, we'll be yakking away, and then the next thing you know, ding, the connection is dead. The Skype connection's dead. We rehook up. without taking a break, and try to start at the exact same point where we lost the connection.
In fact, I'll even count John in on a thought that he's making. I'll say, and I'll let him hear the piece, or I'll say, okay, this is the word that we're going to edit in on, punch back in on, and I'll count them down and say 3, 2, 1, and then I hit record, and then you just pick it up literally with the same thought.
Right, and people have to realize that we're not really interested in overproducing a show like this, because it works the way it works, and we don't. And once you start producing, I can just imagine bringing somebody in as a producer. Well, I think you guys ought to punch it up. We should need some jingles in the middle, or you do the hour and a half, and they say that was pretty good. Let's do a safety.
That's safety.
Another hour and a half. So
that was. I'm laughing, John, because for 8 years at MTV, whenever we did something on location, there's nothing I hated more, particularly if it was an on-location situation where maybe I'd just done sometimes they would even call for it after an interview, but usually you're doing segments, and then every single producer would say, wow, hey, that was really great. That was right on the money. Let's just do one more for safety. I'm like, what the fuck? I hate that.
And then they always pick, and then some guy in the booth. Yeah.
They picked the wrong damn
Exactly.
thing.
This is what I was going to say. They always pick the wrong one.
Which is part of the reasons why I really started to despise television for a while. It's just you have no control unless you literally sit on top of it and control everything, which is very tiresome.
Well, you run into that with photography and magazines too. They'll shoot. They'll say, like, we need a new portrait for your column, and they'll shoot 1,000 photos,
Yeah.
and in there there'll be like 5 that are really outstanding. And they never pick those 5. You say, I want one of these 5. They always pick some other one that just like, my ears aren't that big. So why are you picking this picture?
So you know how I solved that? You may have noticed. Recently, a lot of requests have come in. I've been doing some interviews, and they always say, do you have a picture? Sometimes they really insist that they take the picture, which is where it gets kind of tricky. But every year, and my wife really got me into this, we have a photographer she's been working with for 30 years. He did all of her Playboy pictures and whatever, and so we'll do a couple of different series of pictures. She'll do hers and I'll do mine. And the deal you make with a photographer is, look, I'm going to give these away to. Normally you would pay for them, but we know this guy so long. We'll give him away to press, and he gets a photo credit. He doesn't really need the money necessarily, but then you have total control over it. And 8 out of 10 times that a picture is needed for stuff like that, they'll take yours.
Yeah, no, that's true. In fact, I have one posted on the web when people say you need to post. It's like a huge JPEG.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just let them go get it. But it's not even one of the better ones. But I have a bunch. I had a guy who used to be like the same kind of photographer. I always demand that they use him. It was Tom O'Brien. He used to be in Los Angeles. I can't find him now. I don't know where he went. And but anyway, he used to be he used to take some of the best pictures of food, and he also worked for a couple of the game companies. But his portrait taking was unbelievable. I mean, this guy was a natural. It's like he'd take 500 pictures of you, and they were all good.
Yeah.
And so it was. Then you couldn't pick one because it was like, geez, I look pretty good here.
Well, it does take some time. You have to work with the photographer. It takes a little while to get a vibe going between you, and it really makes a difference.
I think there's more to it than that, and I think what it is I think there's a lot of untalented photographers out there too.
Yeah, usually when it comes down to lighting, obviously that's where I think the men are separated from the boys.
Lighting, and they can't bring anything out of you. One of the guys who was in, I actually I worked with Jim Marshall and actually became his friend. He's the famous rock and roll photographer. He's the one who got the Jimi Hendrix picture of him lighting the guitar. All those photos are in the Hard Rock in Las Vegas. And Marshall's a character, if anyone knows him. I mean, he's like, mean and, but he did a bunch of pictures of me for Micro Times, and the guy is such a good photographer in every which way that it's just unbelievable. And it was like he didn't even take that many pictures. He's one of these guys. I worked with a guy once who shot. I had a picture taken. Now we're getting this is to drive the audience nuts, but I had a picture taken at the absolute other extreme of the guy who takes 1,000 photos. It was a setup shot for a giant blow up of me to sell my first telecom book in the mid '80s, and the guy shot on this camera that was the size of a house with it's just basically a 12-inch negative.
Oh yeah, of course, for the resolution, absolutely.
Right, and he goes in there, he sets the shot, they put makeup on you, they set you this way, they make you smile, blah, blah, boom, bang, one shot. And
that one negative cost $87.
Whatever it costs, I don't know, but the shot was perfect.
Oh, man.
It was just the complete opposite of the guys who shoot a million and try to find the one. I mean, I'm one of those photographers. I take a lot. I've decided that my eye's fair, and I do nail stuff with one shot. But for the most part, if you take a million pictures, you got a much better chance of finding one or two really good ones.
So our guy, whose name was Govert de Roos, he's been a Hasselblad guy all his life, which is obviously a brand of very professional and expensive camera. And about 3 years ago, he finally purchased the digital back, which is that's like a $50,000 thing. But so. It takes these really, really high resolution, but still with the Hasselblad warmth, and how they do it, I'm not quite sure. And and obviously, you just get better results because indeed you just fire off. We'll do 200 shots, and yeah, you're going to find something just perfect.
Mm-hmm. So, how do we get to this part? How do we get to this off this track?
Well, let me just say, I'll take it back a little bit and say we did edit one part last week. I was just thinking, and this has happened maybe one other time before on your end. My wife actually called me, and it was more than like 30 seconds. There was something important she had to tell me, so it probably took about a minute
she
or so.
called, the phone rang, yeah.
Right, and so and you said, you even said in the show, let's remember to cut that out. And I'll tell you that when I was preparing the show for post compression, everything to send it up, to upload it, I listened to that piece and I really thought for a second, well, it's kind of cool to let it in, but I thought, it's like 2 minutes, it's like boring, so I could cut a piece out, and I might as well just cut the whole piece out. But that was it. There was there's no other edits. You're right, straight up, straight through. Right now, it's 10 past 8 Saturday evening where I am.
It's noon here.
Yeah.
So, right, yeah, which is, this actually, we're doing the show late.
Uh-oh. Did I lose you?
So,
there you go.
So Irina Slutsky
yes,
sent me a tweet. She was on the Cranky Geeks recently.
Oh, I haven't seen it in a while. Cool. I like her.
I actually watched last week's. It was actually quite good with Malik. Anyway, when she was on the show, she just sent a note to me. She got her second marriage proposal out of the appearance on the show.
Excellent. But a serious one, or like a really good one?
I don't know. I mean, I would just, maybe this would be some way of getting more women to do the show. So,
yeah, we need more women in tech.
Well, there's definitely a shortage. So anyway,
I'll say.
To talk about real topics, I want to go on. I want to talk about this. So this guy Thomas Decrick, 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 who turns out to be Belgian.
Okay.
So he has first sent me a note about use of the term poo-pooing, which I guess bothers the Belgians when they hear it in English, and I'm not absolutely sure why. But he thought,
oh, I know why.
Yeah, you've been poo-pooing that, kind of thing.
Poo. I know why.
Okay, why?
Because in Flemish, if we're talking about the Dutch-speaking side of the country, a poop is your ass.
Yeah.
So when you just said it, poo-pooing, it sounded like assing, kind of.
Oh, okay. Well, then the problem, he thought even saying pissing on, which is a British comment. I mean, Americans don't say that.
Right.
He thought was better, but okay, well, now at least I know. Anyway, but in the process of that, I went back and forth with him on this because I was, I like saying it because it's effective. But he mentioned the thing. He said, what is the deal with all this there's like a bunch of news stories about George Bush went to the Knesset or is in Israel, and he made this comment about appeasement to Hitler without saying anything about anyone. and I don't even know why he's saying this, but next thing you know, Obama is coming off the walls, going on saying it was a direct slam at him. He's not, about appeasement, and then Hillary came on, and this thing has become this kind of a weird little firestorm. And I said to him initially, I don't know what the big deal is one way or the other. It seems as though just a bunch of political crap going on, and I don't even know why Obama volunteered. He was almost which makes me think that maybe there's some interesting baiting. Not only some. Anyway, let me stop for a second.
Well, look, can I just say one thing? Just because
Sure.
I actually had to do this. Appeasement, to bring to a state of peace, quiet, ease, calm, or contentment, to satisfy, allay, or relieve, to yield or concede to the belligerent demands of.
Right, that's what it means.
We have an international audience.
Yes. Now, here's the deal that's been cropping up on right-wing talk shows. And I'm going to give you the whole overall, what I believe is a reverse marketing thing going on here by the Republican Party. And I think it's going to be quite interesting when you hear my whole spiel.
Does that mean shut up, Adam, and let me talk?
No, I want you to interrupt every chance especially
Okay.
when I go a little bit. It's a funny thing to say, but yeah, interrupt me because I'm going to be throwing a bunch of English stuff in here. Here's what's happening. One of the things that the right-wing talk show guys are doing is they've reintroduced to the American psyche Neville Chamberlain. Now, Neville Chamberlain is the guy best known, and he's still kind of in the history books as the guy who kind of appeased Hitler on behalf of the British. Now, nobody remembers this guy, and young voters definitely don't remember this guy. He was actually dead in 1940 before I was the oldest guy in the room, and he was dead long before I was born. And but somehow, and they're now that they're playing on one of the shows, I heard him actually playing a Neville Chamberlain speech. And this is, the speech was from 1938 or something like that. Or, Chamberlain died in 40, right after within 6 months after he was essentially kicked out of office. He was prime minister. He was dead. Oh, by the way, I went into Wikipedia just to do a little Shaggy Dog version of this story. This is why Wikipedia is kind of funny. I'm going to read you two sentences from the early life of Neville Chamberlain as it's stated in Wikipedia. Chamberlain was, now listen carefully, Chamberlain was born in a house called Southbourne in the Edgbaston, I can't even pronounce it, district of Birmingham, England. He was the eldest son of the second marriage of Joseph Chamberlain, Lord Mayor of Birmingham, and a half-brother, later Sir Austin. So in other words, Chamberlain was the son of two guys. That's the way it's written. That's the way it's written.
Oh, you gotta love Wikipedia.
It's just they need an editor.
You know what we say? We would say Neville Chamberlain would turn over in his grave, my friends.
So anyway, it's just worded funny. But anyway, they go on and say his mother's actually.
Can I just say that I'm desperately searching. I can recall some news in the UK in the past few weeks. Also, someone referring to Neville Chamberlain. So I'm trying to find that reference while you're telling the story.
Yeah. Okay. So Neville Chamberlain's back into the picture now. I started to think about this at first when the Crick brought this up. I said, it's not a big deal. It's just the way it goes. But now I'm thinking about maybe not. This actually may be part of a scheme because the Republicans have done this better than anybody else, which is to tag somebody with a moniker that they can't shake. Flip-flopper, for example, with John Kerry. And the idea of being an appeaser or even though it's not the world's greatest thing to stick someone with because it's kind of hard, just an appeaser. This may be the beginning of tagging Obama with an appeaser, and he seems to have taken the bait on this. Now, he's either aware of the fact that they're going to try to tag him with this, and he's going to be stuck with this moniker right into the election, and this will have, oh, God, he's an appeaser. It's going to be like Neville Chamberlain. He's going to take us, we're going to be in war because of this guy. He may have reacted to the early salvo, which was, in fact, the Bush speech in Israel, He may have overreacted, or he may have reacted because he was told to like kill this before it got out of control. But in fact, because Hillary jumped on the bandwagon and shook her finger at Bush, has made it actually worse.
So who would Obama actually be appeasing?
Obama went on in some minor way saying that he wants to talk to the head of Iran. That guy.
Oh, okay, I got
that
you.
guy whose name, if you're not pronouncing it every day, you'll never pronounce it.
Ahmadinejad?
Yeah, that guy. He says it's a good, we should be talking, bringing it to the table. We should be, that kind of thing. And this guy, Ahmadinejad's already been associated with Hitler by the right wingers of the U.S. And he acts like a Hitler too, and in terms of his, hatred of the Jews, and he wants to blow up Israel and wipe them off the map and all this kind of thing. This stuff doesn't fly.
But of course, he has no real power in Iran. But that's beside the
of course
point.
He doesn't. Well, we don't care about the facts. But anyway, so
true.
So by even talking about this guy as like somebody we should bring to the table, that's an appeaser. So they're trying to associate him wanting to talk to this maniac as the same as Neville Chamberlain talking to Hitler, coming back with a phony baloney paper, and then having the Netherlands attacked the next day. So this is all, and so I'm now thinking this is all part of a long-term strategy by the Republicans to tag this guy with this particular moniker, and I think it's already working. So I mean, this is already one strike against Obama, and I think Hillary jumped on the bandwagon because she still has high hopes of everybody bailing out at the last minute. She can still technically get the nomination, but of course, she hasn't. Neither one of these people are electable, in my opinion, anyway. But if it's starting this soon with this kind of thing, in other words, as a appeasement tag, I can't imagine what it's going to be like 3 or 4 months from now when we get down to the wire. I mean, Obama's going to look like a pedophile or something. I don't know how they're going to do it.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I don't think I understand the moniker, I understand the reference, the historical significance. I don't think the average, as you already pointed out, the average voter, let's just say anyone under 35, under 40 for that matter, they may not even really understand what the appeaser label means.
I think I know that's what, but there's plenty of time to educate people. I mean, we got months and months and months. I think the election's in 5 years. Anyway, we got plenty of time to educate people as to what it means, and it is and if it's used in a pejorative way, he's an appeaser. Even if you don't know what it means, it's bad. Because it's always going to be taken as, he's an appeaser. He's an appeaser. An appeaser. I don't know what that means, but it doesn't sound good. And that's kind of the way these things work. The Democrats have never been able to label their opponents the way the Republicans can label their opponents and make it stick. And it's all marketing. It's a very interesting, but it's counter marketing. It's not, the Democrats are good at, old-fashioned proactive marketing to push an agenda. The Republicans are good at kind of this subtle attack marketing, which is really more complicated.
It's really word hacking. It's like meme hacking. It's launching phrases and labels and memes, I guess, into the media space and getting it repeated and getting something to stick. That's kind of it's really social engineering.
Yes, and they do a much better job. Now, I heard a speech by, what the hell's the name of it? Bill Moyers, who's he was talking to some group of one of these journalist groups of people that write for counterculture. There's basic people with no money, and he was talking to this group, and there was a socialist gathering, is what it was actually, and he was going on about how the Republicans have made all these crazy phrases, and they've thrown all this stuff into the public domain, and it's just manipulating the public, and we should be aware of it. But he never mentions the fact that the Democrats are constantly trying to do this, and they do it more often than the Republicans do, in fact. And I'll give you a couple of examples. I don't have my list here, but I do have a list I maintain, by the way, of these phrases. And a couple of them, for example, that have come up recently. And if you listen to them, they're too intellectual. And they're also by the way, the appeasement thing is going to work even better when the peaceniks come out, supporting Obama. It's just going to reaffirm his base being all, we just basically want to turn the country over to Iran.
Well,
is the way it
does kind of make sense in a way, although, so we had Hillary saying that What'd she say? The U.S. would certainly obliterate Iran.
Yeah, she was going the other. She was not going to put up. Yeah, that was a smart thing for her to say. I mean, it's bullshit.
Although not very friendly thing to say. Let's be honest.
No, she didn't. Well, she's not trying to get their vote.
Good point.
Anyway, a couple of the items that the Democrats have tried to come up with right after the 9/11. First, you saw "Justice, Not Vengeance," which was a little bit much, and that bumper sticker was everywhere in Berkeley. And then you have more recently. Actually, if you want to go back even further, they tried to popularize the term, and this is definitely from the Democrat side. They tried to popularize the term gravitas, which was never used by a Republican ever, and it means he has gravitas, and this we had to elect somebody with gravitas, and of course then the public voted in Bush, which is hilarious. That was kind
of a popular word for a while back in the 70s. I have a feeling.
It's come and gone, but it was directly attached to Cuomo, the Mario Cuomo. He was the gravitas guy that was supposed to run in '92, but he saw that Bush was going for a second term and said, well, nobody ever beats an incumbent, and so he didn't run. Clinton won, and that was the end of Cuomo. But anyway, he had gravitas.
So now the more gravitas, seriousness or sobriety as of conduct of speech.
Yeah, in other words, he can talk without stuttering or mumbling or saying stupid things. Now, the more recent one, which the Democrats have also tried to promote and has gotten nowhere, but it keeps cropping up. And the problem with it sounds creepy, and I'm not even absolutely sure what it means. But the term is truth to power. Oh, you must speak truth to power. Oh, is they going to allow truth to power? Truth to power. And this is like, I'm not even sure what it means. How would you interpret it?
Truth to power. You must speak truth to power. Well, first of all, it seems like there should be a ratio attached to it. What's your truth to power ratio? Like a drivetrain.
Now, wait a minute. I got to write that down because no one's ever come up with the truth to power ratio.
We can use it. We can introduce it. The truth to power ratio.
The truth to power ratio of 3.2.
You're rocking, baby, with a 3.2 TPR. TTPR, whatever. Yeah.
TTPR.
Yeah. Truth to power. Yeah. I'm not really sure how to interpret it. I would probably ignore it.
It means is that you don't surround yourself with yes men at the base level is what it's supposed. I think is one of the implications. But it means that you will tell it like it is. I think it's probably a takeoff from the 1960s. Let's remember how Web 2.0 is just a bunch of rewrites of everything from Web 1.0. Let's go back to the 1960s when we were successful as a Democrat Party, and let's rewrite all these kinds of phrases that we used to have back then, like tell it like it is.
Man.
Truth to power.
Well, here it is. The phrase speak. I'm just reading from some fucking website. The phrase speak truth to power goes back to 1955 when the American Friends Service Committee published Speak Truth to Power, a pamphlet that proposed a new approach to the Cold War. Its title, which came to friend Milton Mayer toward the end of the week, whatever. So
that's good. Well, yeah, there's nothing new under the sun.
Here's another data point. Anita Hill entitled her memoir of her sensational charges of sexual harassment against Supreme Court nominee Clarence Thomas, Speaking Truth to Power.
Well, sneaking in. Mm-hmm. Anyway, but you'll find it's all left
like
wing.
That, yeah. But let's do something with the truth to power ratio. That's cool.
I like it. Yeah, we have to come up with a formula. Well, we'll turn it into an algorithm.
Yeah, there you go. We need it. Like social graph is another one of my favorites. I love that too.
So anyway, I have a list of these, and one of these days we'll discuss in more detail.
You got one more?
Well, I can't. I probably will in the top. I don't have one more off the top of my head, but there's a ton of them.
All right.
Well, yeah, there's another one that they threw out there, which is no war for oil or something. I can't remember how it's phrased exactly, but that bumper sticker's all over the place trying to be a meme. Anyway.
Well, yeah. Yeah,
but there's a bunch of these. Like I said, I just thought about them now. But I wanted to anyway. So I thank Thomas DeCrick for asking it what I thought was a stupid question, but it turns out to be interesting.
Let me.
Because now everybody who listens to this show is on top of the appeasement thing and will be able to spot it as the propagandistic machine starts to grind away on poor Obama.
That is interesting to track. Well, I guess the education now, what you said, since a lot of people, I had to look it up. I'm like, appeasement, let me just look it up. So let's watch out for the education process of the appeasement meme.
Well, and the rebirth of Neville Chamberlain. That's a funny one. By the way, everyone should go take a look at that Wikipedia page on Neville Chamberlain just to see all these photos that are in there of these British stick in the muds, and there's one after another. It's unbelievable.
Careful.
It's humorous.
Careful now. I live over here. Yeah, I had an interesting conversation on Wednesday. I'm finishing up some historical tax crap with the IRS, and so I got a really nice tax lawyer, Bob, and Bob lives in Connecticut, and we usually do everything through email, but we talk. And I said I've only known the guy for a little bit because it's just been a short kind of thing he's had to do for me. So I get on the phone with him. We're chatting away, and so we basically go through whatever we need to do in like 45 minutes. Like, I might as well talk with the guy for 15 minutes. He's going to bill me for a full hour anyway, right? And so we're talking. And he's interested in MEVO and how, what kind of stuff and about my show, and he also has to kind of understand some things because, believe it or not, I'm one of these people that has to write down how many days I'm in which fucking country to pay tax in the right place. And so he just wants to understand what's work and how do we do it when I'm doing something for the Netherlands from here, or I'm doing something here for San Francisco. And I said, what else do you do for kicks, man? He's like, oh, I'm actually a volunteer ambulance driver up here in Connecticut. And that's part of the Department of Homeland Security. And, so I, of course, start laughing, and I launch into my whole, my crap at trying to get into the country, which, of course, has nothing to do with DHS. But, so we're talking about, he says, oh, man, I got to tell you something really amazing. Because he is one of these guys that has a special ID card that should, when Armageddon strikes, then he gets to the front of the line for vaccinations or any necessary stuff in order to help people. And there's a number of these guys in not just in like services like ambulance driving, but also it's well known that there are businessmen who are also a part of have a DHS credentials, for instance, supply food or whatever's necessary. And he said that one weekend they were all called up, not just the ambulance drivers, but a couple of the services because they needed some real manpower. And turns out they had these. What do you call it? Hold on. I actually wrote down sanitation kits. And so, they have a stockpile, a warehouse of stuff that, when something goes wrong, then these guys know how to, got to go get it and distribute it. And they had to open up every single sanity kit. And he said there were thousands, and remove the toothpaste because they were tainted. They were the toothpaste that was tainted from China.
Oh, my goodness.
And I'm thinking to myself, how in the frig can we have Department of Homeland Security being so stupid as to put, stuff that you put into your body, especially in the case of emergency, that has been purchased from a foreign country? And, oh, by the way, China? I mean, so you could, if you want to make sure that after you've dropped the bomb, you kill everybody else, just sell toothpaste.
Wow, that's a story nobody got.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a scoop.
Yeah. I said, dude, is it okay if I said to talk about this? Yeah, sure. As long as you have a lawyer that understands that type of business.
Yeah, well, you didn't give his name, and it's just a fact. Anyway, facts are always good. So,
but I just think that's a huge risk. A huge risk. I don't know what other things they hand out.
The whole thing's that, the fact of the matter is they know nothing's going to happen. That stuff's all going to expire anyway and get thrown into the landfill.
Okay.
I mean, but yeah, I agree with you. I think it's stupid. Can I complain about something?
Gee, a surprise.
Here, this is it. I was thinking about this because earlier before we started the show, I called you, and I use Skype I was on Skype, and I hit your number on Skype, and it forwards, because you have call forwarding set up, by the way, which people should know works amazingly well.
Yeah.
And it goes to your cell phone, and it sounds like you're on your. I mean, you sound like it's an outstanding connection.
Well, there's only one drawback, and that is it does not pass on caller ID.
This is what I'm getting to.
Yep. Okay.
There's more to it than that. What's really weird about it is that if you're not really picking up right away or something, it goes to a message box. AT&T interrupts the call. And I've gotten this a number of times. They do it not necessarily just with Skype. They do it occasionally with other systems too. But I get the feeling that Skype is the reason they're doing it, because they're losing their butt on the fact that Skype is doing this free call from me to you, and you're in England.
So hold on. So when you call me, it forwards, and if I don't answer or if my phone is off, it doesn't go to voicemail? AT&T disconnects?
No, it goes to an AT&T voicemail that asks me to put your phone number in.
No, dude. That's just, okay, I got that one. That's just me. AT&T's, check this out, because this has been irritating me for quite a while. AT&T's roaming partner in the UK is O2. And by the way, if you buy the iPhone over here, it comes with an O2 subscription, right? So they are definitely connected. That is the only network. It doesn't happen if I'm on Vodafone. It doesn't happen if I'm on 3. It doesn't happen if I'm on T-Mobile. It doesn't go automatically to the voicemail. It gives you that please enter the 10-digit number, blah 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 blah. And I also can't retrieve my voicemail through their own freaking partner here in the UK. Now, if I change the network and I roam on a different network, we get an astronomical bill.
So now so let's go back up a couple of notches. What I'm claiming, well, this is interesting, but here's the point. I am calling through a network where all these numbers, and by the way, I'm going to, it's not what you're supposed to say, but I'm still amused. My kids actually all know about this too. We all laugh when it comes up on a TV show where the guy says, keep them on the line as long as you can. We got to trace the call.
Yeah. I've almost triangulated.
It's like the call, all the details are in the line immediately, so you don't have to trace anything. But the point is, and the kids, this is bullshit. But anyway, the thing is, they've got my number. They've got the number I dialed. They have the 10-digit number I dialed. Why are they asking for me to put it in again? The only person that can't put it in is a guy who didn't dial it at all, but somebody coming in through Skype.
I understand what you're saying, John, but I don't think it's much worse than that. They're not doing that just because you're coming through Skype. They do it no matter who calls me gets that.
No, I've got it on a regular line too, but on the regular line I can punch the number back in, and so then it goes through. But if I'm coming through Skype, I don't know what the number is. So it's like it's a blocking factor. I mean, it's a natural. It's like a self. It's a self.
No, but John,
generating.
but you're not hearing me.
No, I guess not.
Who else do you call that this happens to? No one. Only with me. Who else do you call who has Skype forwarding?
I have to think about that. No, I don't call that many people on Skype that get their calls forwarded to a cell phone.
So first of all, of course, this is. So it is messed up because no matter who calls me with proper caller ID, if they're calling from a landline, calling from the UK, the United States, the Netherlands, wherever they're calling from, if my cell phone is on the O2 network, which is the default roaming partner for AT&T in the United Kingdom, you get to that freaking stupid menu where you have to enter the 10-digit number. If I'm roaming on any other network here, it goes straight to voicemail the way it should. So the problem is not with. I don't believe the problem is with AT&T denying Skype. They won't. How can they even do that when they're such boneheads? They can't even make it. Regular calls go to voicemail. Of course, they have all the information. They're just fucked up.
So no, there has to be an agenda.
I don't think there's an agenda. Why would you screw your own partner?
I don't know. I'm just telling you, it's just annoying. I call, and if I'm doing it on Skype, if I'm doing it on a cell phone, I just, it's not a problem getting the number, and I can punch it in, and it does go to some voicemail that apparently you don't hear, and
you have no idea how many misconfigurations take place on these networks. I travel between 3 countries. And all of a sudden my text messages start arriving 5 hours late, which really pisses me off because they cost money for a reason. That's guaranteed delivery. It's supposed to get there. You're supposed to have it immediately. That really pisses me off when you can't rely on that.
Yeah, I know you've complained about this, and it's happened to me because once in a while I'll get a voicemail from you, a day late. It comes in out of the blue. It says, "Yeah, I'll be there in 10 minutes." I'm going, "Oh, great. Where was I supposed to be?"
And there's a skeleton of me, standing with my finger on the buzzer, not opening up. Yeah, no, that's very frustrating. It's only in the UK that happens with O2. I've been meaning to mention that because a lot of people say, "I couldn't leave you a voicemail," and no matter where they're calling from. So.
Anyway, the solution is
sorry to blow your conspiracy theory there, but I just don't think it's
I'm not completely convinced that it's not an element of what I'm suspecting.
And by the way, to people who have been talking about this, yes, I am subservient most of the time to John in these conversations, but he's also 10 years older than I am, 9 or 8 years, and more worldly and smarter, and I'm actually trying to learn something. And it's nice to be not the lead dog.
Well, I'm not the lead dog.
No, but in this conversation, you feel free to patronize me.
Okay, I'll do that. Somebody's got to do it. So what do you got on your no agenda list?
Well, I did want to thank you for sticking up for Mevio, for the company on the last twit at the very end there. That was nice.
Oh, it's because, one of the people was talking out of their ass behind, as it were, and it was just like it's like anything else. I mean, if you're not in the, you can, of course, I'm like the expert at just blowing, blowing smoke about stuff I only know half the story about. But generally speaking, if you do that, sometimes you do get the real story because people say, "No, you're completely wrong," and here's what really happened. And I always correct myself. I've always done it. By the way, so yesterday I'm standing out. It's hot here. So I'm watching. There's some kid. This is a subject we have to bring up and do a whole show about. The kid is going by on a scooter with the handles, it's not like a skateboard.
Oh, a Zappy, one of those? You stand on the skateboard and it has handlebars?
It's got handlebars and it's got like engine. 4 wheels and he's pushing it. It's obviously not designed to go very fast.
One of those things. It has no engine. It's just the... Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
He's going up the street, at 1/10 of a mile an hour. I mean, I could walk faster than this kid's pushing this thing, okay?
Yeah.
He's got a helmet on.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, what the heck is wrong with this? I mean, I understand the helmets are important on bicycling, and some people don't wear them, and, a motorcycle for sure, because you can hurt yourself. Your head is something you don't want to, get damaged, because, you can't do much without it. But come on. I mean, at what point do we just wear a helmet to go shopping? I'm expecting to go to, one of the stores around here, somebody pushing around a cart with a helmet on.
How old was he, you think?
The kid, he looked like he was 12.
Oh, well, of course. That's, an entire generation of parents turning their kids into pussies.
It's unbelievable.
I remember when I was 6 years old, we were visiting friends. Here's one for you. I still have a picture, and I'm sure I can find it. We were visiting friends in Texas. I think it was Dallas. And I was completely into, it was 6 or 7. And I was completely into skateboarding. Skateboarding was everything. I'm sorry, I was 9. So I'm like, I'm going to go skateboarding because they had these really, they lived in kind of a, one of those very suburban type areas, rack housing, etc. But nice asphalt. And all of a sudden, I find myself on something I really had not been on, having learned how to skateboard in the Netherlands, and that was on a significant hill. And so I'm going down. I'm picking up speed. I'm like, holy crap. And at that same moment, basically I was trying to occupy the same space of road as a truck. So basically, I wind up wiping out. But, I had 2 black eyes because I fell on my nose. My elbows were fine, but my knees were my knees were fine, but my elbows, completely shot. I still have gravel in my left elbow from that wipeout. And that was what it was like, man, as kids. Like, you got fucked up and you took a tumble. And guess what? I ain't going to do that shit on that skateboard no more. I learned my lesson good.
Well, anyway, so I think you might have something. My wife and I talk about this generation of pussies thing.
I can't wait to meet her, man.
It comes up in the conversation when we're watching, the British version of what I consider one of the great, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, one of the great management consultants. Gordon Ramsay comes into these places, and when he runs into this certain generation, the younger people, he runs into these wimpy characters that he has to yell and scream at, and there's a whole generation of people that aren't used to this. They have been, especially in the United States, where they've been raised
with political correctness.
Well, it's not only that, but it's this self-esteem crap where, you're a winner. We should have sports that there's no competition. My kids went to these schools that did this, and I, got them out of those schools. There should be a game. There shouldn't be a winner and a loser. Everyone's a winner. The guy who came in last is the last winner. This kind of thing. And it's just you don't have to do well. You don't have to perform. You're you yourself. You're important because you're a person and all this kind of crap.
Mm-hmm.
And it results in a generation of people that don't perform very well.
So this brings me to my favorite topic, having just been show business bitch for my wife, which means carrying her suitcases, getting her tea, and keeping people out of her dressing room. Once again, she had the last semifinal. The next show will be the finals of Holland's Got Talent. And I'm so proud of my wife because she's sitting there in the audience, and there's... and the show is beautiful, the lighting's beautiful, and people are doing stuff, and you can see they've really put effort into it. But I'm sorry, a lot of it just sucked. And she's sitting there, and she just says it. And we're losing the end for this semifinal. We're 2 kids, an 8-year-old Chinese kid named Oscar, which is a perfect name for a Chinese kid, and a 13-year-old Dutch girl who had a musical performance, some piece from a Dutch musical. And, then the judges have to make the final decision on these 2. And so you have these 2 young, kids sitting next to each other. And you can just hear hearts breaking everywhere, but they had to, and they just had to be honest and say, boom, kid, you're out, go home. But, this is what's really I like about this show is there are actual losers. And they say, I'm sorry, you lose. Go home, go away. Not, good try. No, it's just exit.
Good try.
Exit, yeah. And that's good. There's some social value to that, I feel.
Well, it's still, if you go back in time, let's, start looking at the history of all this stuff. There used to be amateur hour shows, and there used to be these kinds of shows forever because people, it's a good way to get people to work for nothing. Let's face reality. But anyway, they used to have a thing where a guy would come out with a hook.
Yeah.
In fact, the term "give him the hook" has to do with this, and it wasn't a kind and gentler world back then.
That still exists in Showtime at the Apollo. The Sandman will come out with the hook if the audience boos you off the stage. It still happens today.
Right. They boo you off the stage. And if you go back even further and you start looking at the history of the theater in the 1800s, they used to throw stuff at the stage. Yep. People would come in with boxes of tomatoes. Usually rotten, eggs, because there were eggs everywhere back then because people had chickens, and you can't eat enough. You can't eat the eggs, believe me. If you have more than 3 or 4 chickens, there's no way. So you bring them to the theater. And if some crappy act came out, they would just pelt them with rotten cabbages and tomatoes.
Is that the vaudeville days? Is that how far back we're going?
Vaudeville was one of it. But actually, if you go back to the 1860s, there's a number of good books on this. And you read about, we're talking about the regular theater where people would come out and sing and dance. And it wasn't vaudeville per se. Vaudeville is actually a kind of something that developed out of burlesque, which was basically burlesque was a subcategory of the formal theater, but it was basically dirty. I mean, it was topless.
Sexy,
It was
not
sexy.
dirty. Sexy's
Well,
not
it's
dirty.
terrible.
There you go, John. This is exactly the problem we have.
No, actually,
Turning sex into
the
dirt.
problem we have is you and the political correct use of the word sexy. This is not sexy. I got to go to a couple of these burlesque shows in there.
It's not dirty.
No,
let's call it horny. Let's call it horny. Horny.
A dirty comic would come out with dirty jokes, and these girls were just, they were dirty. There's nothing sexy about it. Anyway, so that was not family entertainment. So they developed burlesque. Vaudeville came out of that and developed down by in that Canal Street area. Actually, is where it really started.
You are so knowledgeable. I love this.
No, I just happened to read a couple books on it. Anyway, but the thing is, the regular theater where people would come out and they'd sing or they'd do a play or something like that, that's where they throw the stuff. It's like going to Broadway today and watching, Les Mis or something, and then heaving a tomato at the guy with the mask. I mean, geez.
This is the next level in reality shows. You let the audience in on the act, but you actually really let them in on the act, and you let them come in with rotten eggs and tomatoes, and we just take it back to those times.
I would watch that show.
Of course you would, but specifically because I'd have the guy telling dirty jokes and the tits out on stage. Hey, this is my kind of show, Johnny.
So actually, a show where people got a little more involved, I mean, would probably be kind of interesting. Although with today's, audience, we don't kind of understand, what the rules really are. And some guy would bring a gun and like shoot the guy I was on the stage, kind of thing. But yeah, I think it'd be entertaining to let people have maybe if you limited the people to maybe one egg and maybe one cabbage and one tomato each, and they could only use them,
Oh yeah, you had a certain limit. Yeah, you have okay.
Yeah, you don't want a guy with a box of tomatoes just throwing them up there because he wants to practice his pitching.
And by the way, studio audiences are screened. They do go through metal detectors. At least they do on any show my wife is performing on.
Well, that's because you're in the audience.
I'm everywhere. I have eyes everywhere.
So anyway, yeah. So that's kind of the.
We have so much to do. We have shows to start. We have. Oh my gosh.
I like the idea of the tomato show.
I think that would work. You know what? Hey, that's one.
Especially if a guy, you get a good guy in there that really has a good, accurate arm, so you can just hit somebody right in the head.
So why don't we say, this could be really easy. We could do this with Mevio, no problem. I mean, we can put together a treatment and put together a budget. It doesn't have to be hugely expensive to do this. You rent out a place. You set the ground rules, and you just invite people to come and do their act, and then you either go or you get something thrown at you. And we could do it with two cameras. We could do a hell of a lot. We could really get a lot accomplished.
We definitely need a cleanup crew.
Well, details. That's what interns are for. I wrote something down here. I carry my iPod Touch everywhere. I love it. And we'll have to see if I switch to the new iPhone with 3G when it comes out. So far,
you will.
Yeah, probably. But I did the crack thing, the zip phone hack, whatever it is, on the iPod Touch, so I can load all the cool applications. And there's some that are actually usable. Anyway, you said something on, I think it was No Agenda. You were talking about cameras with a GPS receiver in it, so it would geotag the pictures.
Oh, I was on Tech 5.
What did I say that was?
You said No Agenda.
I'm sorry, Tech 5, yeah. And that you find that you'd always...
By the way, which can be found at Tech 5 with a 5.mevio.com.
And that you had always, and here it is, poo-pooed them. Until you actually found it was quite handy to have pictures and be able to place them exactly where you were when you were on your Korean trip.
Yeah, I thought about it for a while, and I realized that I don't go to like Korea every minute, and so but I'm pretty good at finding my way around. But I realized that I have a lot of shots that you take if you're like me and you'd like to really, if you're traveling, you just take a lot of pictures because it's just fun to see if you can find something that's worth having. And you shoot, and then you shoot out of windows. Sometimes I shoot out of cab windows a lot. I see something weird, and I say, "Oh, look at that!" and I'll shoot it. And most of these pictures are just a waste, but occasionally you catch something that's pretty cool, and then you sort them out, and you end up with this picture that you say, "Wow, that's pretty cool." And it's like in there you see something. Well, I didn't know. I would like to go to that store that's in that picture. I don't know where it is. it would be cool to have a GPS data attached to that photo, so I knew exactly where that picture was taken, so I could actually go back to that spot. And I couldn't really think of any real reason to have GPS data on photos until I realized that reason I just described is a really good one.
So this kind of ties into my iPod Touch and the iPhone, the new iPhone. And I was thinking the following, because you know that we're going to be able to make applications for the iPhone, etc. Hopefully the capability will be there. So I would presume, I could be wrong, but let's say the new iPhone had GPS capability, which pretty much these days, if you want to make a high-end mobile phone, it has to have GPS in there because that just seems to be the trend. So if we actually had a GPS receiver, and of course it has multimedia capabilities, up popped an idea that I've had for 5 years at least, maybe longer, ever since I've been using GPS. How cool would it be if you could geotag certain areas in the world? For instance, we were talking about Amsterdam, and I said, and actually a couple of people took me up on the offer. They emailed me and said, "Hey, I'm going to Amsterdam in the next couple of weeks. Could you please give me a couple of cool places to go? Could you just tell me whatever you and John were talking about?" So I made up a little template thing, and I've been sending that off to people. Now, wouldn't it be cool if I could say, if they could click on a link or have some kind of, a link would be easy, and you download something, and while you're walking around Amsterdam, you're getting directions to places, and when you're in the spot where, for instance, in front of the Anne Frank Museum, you would then hear from an MP3. You would hear, which could be a really low res, and it could be streamed, immediately, I presume. You could hear me saying, "Well, right now you're standing in front of the Anne Frank house." I give you some background. Then I say, "There's probably a long freaking line there. So what you want to do is just turn 180 degrees, turn around and walk up to the Rozengracht to Ben Cohen's and have yourself some shawarma, and ask for it this way and tell them I sent you." And you could really put together almost like, which I loved as a kid, those walking guided tours of the museum where you'd get the headsets and you'd walk, towards an exhibit, and then you'd start to hear the description of that exhibit. I think you could really build something like that, and it could be a community thing where you can contribute, just like Google Maps, which of course would come into play somewhere, I'm sure, in this whole infrastructure I'm dreaming up, where if someone else wants to add to the tour or add another point of interest, as it's known, there could be a number of things there. But the whole idea of a guided audio walking tour and descriptions of places anywhere, or you could just be walking somewhere and all of a sudden you'd get a little beep, 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 and then you'd click the play button. It'd be like, "Hi, this is Peter, and this is where Mary and I had sex for the first time." I mean, it could be all kinds of interesting things.
I think it's a nightmare.
Why? You don't think that would be interesting or useful?
Yeah, I think it would. No, I think the idea is sheer genius, and I think it's something that's needed. Except I think it's like anything else, that if it got too, I don't know. I'd rather have a professional rather than the guy who screwed his wife near that corner. I don't really care.
But obviously,
that's what would be in there. That's the problem. That would be in there, and that's the drawback.
Well, then but then don't make obviously, that's just an option. That's a bolt-on. I mean, you could sell professional packages. In fact, you could take No Agenda, and you could take every single bit where we've talked about a restaurant, talked about a place you or I have been. Jesus,
right, we could have the No Agenda visit pack. Now, the thing is, by the way, there's a really cool restaurant by the Anne Frank house that is just like, and I think really? I took one picture inside the place, and that would be a cool thing to have geotagged, because I don't even remember the name of the place.
I'm looking. Hold on a second.
But it's like it's a really stylish, lots of wood and fancy architecture place.
Is it the Five Flies?
I don't know. Maybe it was cool.
Oh no! Wait a minute. That's the restaurant in the church tower near the church. There's a big tower, right?
No, it's not in a tower. It's right on the street, and it's got like weird. It's weird. It's a weird, trendy, kind of over-designed, architecturally interesting, place. And by the way, the food was good there. And we had people. You could see them walking to go to the Anne Frank thing. Other people that were in this group, that you'd see friends going down the streets, and you'd bring them in, and it was it was like tapas was what we were eating there, kind of thing. It wasn't tapas
in the Westerkerk, maybe. The Vesta Church?
Maybe. So anyway, the point is that if I had this system, or the one you're talking about, I could, I would be able to punch it up right now and tell people to go check it out. But yeah, no, let's make that a company. Let's do it.
Let's make that a company. Hey, I hear you're really good at fundraising. Let's do that. We'll just send you out with my idea, your fundraising skills, John. Fantastic.
I think you should start with a patent.
That, by the way, was an inside joke.
Yeah, it was.
Wait a minute. Another patent I can get? I can get a patent on that idea? Surely someone's come up with this. That can't be unique.
Not the way you could do it. You could make it specific enough that it would be very...
By the time we got the patent done, it's like someone else will have built the whole system.
Build the patent. I mean, have the patent done on the side while you're building the system out.
John, what I'd much rather do is I'd rather talk about the awesome system, and very much like podcasting, I'd like to energize and incentivize people who can build that.
Well, I like the idea because it would be cool, but it's non-trivial. Let me say that. To have it so I'm walking around San Francisco and my phone beeps at me with a distinctive sound, meaning I'm walking past someplace I showed some interest in, or that I'm subscribing to this, like one person's feed. This almost could be a little bit like Twitter.
But think about very good point. Now think about it. A GPS has points of interest, and it has points of interest by category. So those systems already, kind of pre-baked, know the concept. So you could have the no agenda category, and that would just be points of interest, or waypoints as they're sometimes known, that would be ours. It really comes down to the tools, I guess, to assemble and create a route or some kind of database stuff. So, and then of course some application that is constantly seeing if you're within proximity of one of these waypoints. All that kind of exists, John. That's not all that big. I don't think that's a big deal.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, it's something that would be interesting to get it so it was institutionalized to such an extreme that more than two geeks with an iPhone would subscribe to the No Agenda tour of Amsterdam. Well, which is what the market would be today.
This whole podcasting started with really two geeks, Adam Curry and Dave Weiner, sending movie files back and forth through an RSS aggregator. It took 3-4 years before even we had thought of coming up with doing shows that, putting MP3s in regularly. So, by 2012, we might have something.
Maybe, but it seems to me that the GPS thing is not new. It's already gone past the 3-year point. And but that's just a GPS thing, but we're combining it with a couple things here. By the way, you could also integrate RSS and subscribe to different waypoint services. Come on, man. That might be interesting.
There's something here.
Yeah, no, I think there is something there because I wouldn't mind. When I go to some of these places for the first time, you don't get good information from the hotels. You just don't. If you had somebody that you knew was there all the time and they'd put together a little tour or just a waypoint thing where if you happen to be going by it, it beeps at you and you can say, "Oh, that's interesting. I should go check this out," or restaurant tour or whatever.
You could have the weed service. So any city you're in, it would automatically start beeping when you're near a dealer.
Well, that's something you'd be interested in.
In fact, you could make it... Oh, here it comes. You could make it even better. You could have the other side. Oh, this is cool. So let's say... this would be a great app for the iPhone. So let's just take that as an example just because we mentioned it, not because I really want that service, although... So let's say if you're a dealer, you could have the reverse of the service, and it would actually be broadcasting your location within the category dealer. And then you could be on the lookout. You could have your system set to automatically detect one of these people so you can find each other.
All right. Well, let's go to something more practical, which doesn't involve illegal activity.
Speak for yourself.
So, you might as well do the hookers then. So
there you go.
Now, here it is, speed traps.
Ooh, well, speed traps. That system. Well, gee, maybe this is where I got my idea from. Didn't we talk about that last week?
Yeah, there's some speed trap stuff. I don't know that we did, but there's a bunch of speed trap websites, and there's all kinds of speed trap
No, you have this
systems out
really,
there.
this really inexpensive device, like 30 pounds, and you just stick it on your dashboard. It has batteries, and
Right.
you plug it into the cigarette lighter, and it's
Screw it. Put it on the cell phone. Have a specific ringtone. When you're entering a city, this would be very handy in the USA. You're going into some little city that's loaded with speed traps. The GPS thing will send an alarm to you saying, slow down, because you're running into a speed trap. Beep, 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 beep. And you'd slow down, and you drive through the speed trap, and then you'd get an all clear sign, maybe, or not.
So exactly. The point is
that would work. I would subscribe to that service tomorrow.
Okay. Would you carry an iPhone if it was available on the iPhone? Because I think that's where it's going to pop up first.
I guess I could carry an iPhone, if I had to.
Crap.
I don't like carrying phones. The people don't understand. I don't really like being on the phone all day and all night.
No,
so I don't carry a phone generally.
But baby, listen to me. You don't need that. Yeah, I carry a separate phone, even with the iPhone. I want a phone that just does a phone. And by the way, I want one I could drop in the toilet, get run over by a truck, and it'll still be a phone.
I use a track phone for that, by the way.
I know you do.
They should be sponsoring our show, but we should call them up.
Yeah, well, so should Cessna. Let's call them up, too.
Cessna should be Well, I don't know how many people out there would buy a Cessna that we probably.
Are you kidding me? Oh, I guarantee you, there's lots of people in aviation who listen to me, and I bet you there are future pilots
Cessna,
who will buy a Cessna because of me.
and track phone should both be paying for this.
Fuck that.
Apple.
Damn, man. All this
day.
missed opportunity. Yeah, that'll be the day. There you go. Wouldn't that be funny if we were sponsored by Apple?
It would be funny. I mean, we don't even need to be sponsored. What I would suggest, and I think we're going to have to find some way of doing this, is just doing these product placement discussions.
As
because
they
it
all
sounds
are.
like that's what we're doing anyway.
As they all are.
It's a product placement.
Except we do it differently. As our audience grows, which it really is going quite swiftly. What do we know? This is the 31st episode. So at a certain point, we'll just have a large audience. When we talk about some product, we'll just send them a bill and just see what happens.
Just send. Here's your bill. You owe us like $45,000, jerks. Send them a bill.
It's funny.
Well, Apple, they're already in the hole.
Yeah, big time.
Nothing I had to do with it. I'll tell you that right now.
But wait a minute. But we should make it fair. And if we really slam a product, we should send them a check.
Absolutely.
See now, so then we have a little fun going, right? And then or some equivalent of a check or something to make right whatever we think is wrong. I don't know, something like that.
Well, I don't think we have to make right what we think is wrong if the product sucks.
True. But maybe sending them a check will be funny. So here you go. So you join our advertising club. And if you're lucky, we talk about your product. We send you a check. If you're unlucky, we talk about your product. And then and it can be thousands of companies. Most will never talk about. But if we slam your product, we send you a check.
I like it. I like the advertising club aspect.
Nice, isn't it? Yeah, it's kind of like
you have the advertising club. You guys are, and we'll list them for the listeners. Here's the people that we're gonna maybe or maybe not talk about in a pro or con way. And of course, there'll be some jerks out there that'll track it. Mm-hmm. Well, I see that they talked about Apple 3 times and they didn't say anything bad about them, right. And that kind of thing. We can lose credibility, but I think we can do it.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, I think we could.
How much credibility do we need? That's what I say.
How far must we go? Oh, man. All right. You got anything else, John?
I got plenty, but, I think we're running out of time.
Well, actually, time is
one
not
of these days.
Bad. Well, 72
I want to
minutes.
Talk. I sent you the thing about the Bordeaux in a box. Somebody sent me on Twitter. Said, why don't you talk about this? You're a wine guy. What do you think about Bordeaux in a box? So,
actually, there was something that caught my eye in that article, and, of course, like an idiot, I closed it. Crap. Do you have it open? Do you have that article open?
The Bordeaux in the box article?
Yeah.
Here, I got it. It's actually on the Twitter feed. Let me just, by the way, anyone who wants to add me, it's now called the Dvorak Brigade.
Hold on a second, John. Downloading the wine in a box page. Just cut the Skype off for a second there. Hold on. Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You got to get a better link. I've got 16 megabits coming down on my stream.
Dude, I'm about to move to London just to get a better link. All three of us are so fed up with the level of service we can get, and that's just because of the proximity of our house to the exchange. I've had a cable modem and cable on order from Virgin Media for about 3 months. I mean, they acquired a company called NTL, also known in the United Kingdom as NT Hell. And they have not yet implemented the Virgin brand of customer service, as far as I'm concerned. So we're just going to move. We're going to move to get a better connection.
Well, why don't you just call Branson? Aren't you his friend?
Yeah, but he what's he going to go? He's going to dig up he's going to build a new exchange closer to my house just because he's my friend. Okay, is Bordeaux and cartons the last straw for French wine? That was it.
By the way, somebody also sent a topic idea in. Per Meister, he says... But wait a
minute.
Man killed on tracks while listening to an iPod.
Wait a minute. I want to say something about the wine in a carton.
Okay.
The wine in the carton is one thing, but it comes with a sensory straw with 4 holes, which are in the straw to send a spray of wine around the palate and ensure you enjoy exactly the same sensations as with a wine glass. That is technology, my friend. That is technology. I got to try that. Hey, when I get to San Francisco, which I'm sure will be in the next week or 2, maybe 3 weeks, let's have a carton of wine together with a sensory straw. I'll share a straw with you.
Why don't you see if you can find that? You check luggage ever?
Luggage?
Yeah, when you come over.
Dude,
all carry on.
Of course, I check luggage. I carry.
I never.
You've never seen me wear the same 2 clothes twice.
That's true. This guy, for anyone out there listening, this guy has never. That's why he didn't want me talking about the shirts I was having tailor-made, because I wear shirts more than once. I have, I get them cleaned, I wash them, I put them on again.
You're wrong.
You wear everything once and then throw it out.
No, I do. First of all, I do not throw it out. Second of all, you're wrong. What I actually do is I'm much better at coordinating. I know exactly what outfits you've seen me in, and I make sure I wear something different to keep you entertained.
Yeah, that's not true. You know it.
It is
so,
true.
Okay. I wonder did Dvorak see this? Let me try a different shirt.
When I go on, as an example, when we go out to dinner, yes, I absolutely. No matter who you are, whether you're John C. Dvorak, well, speak for yourself. But when I go on Cranky Geeks, I would never wear the same thing twice. Dude, I'm in show business. This is what I do.
Like a woman. Okay.
Yeah, well, okay. Go ahead.
So anyway, let's get
me.
back. Here's when you went off topic on me. Let me just say what I was going to say. Get 2 of the whites, 2 of the white wines, and 2 of the reds. Skip the one in the middle, and bring 4 of these little boxes of wine.
Okay.
And in checked luggage, because you can't obviously get it through any other way, and then we'll check it out at a restaurant.
Oh, are we going to drink this wine in a restaurant?
Yeah, we'll go to Fringal because they're always like game for crazy things like that.
Okay, where can I get it? Hold on. It's called, was it Tandem is what it's called?
I don't know.
And here it is. No, hold on.
I don't have it.
It's here it is. Produced by Cordier Metzerzat. Mestrazat? Is that French or German?
They're a big, giant operation. I think they're from Algeria or something.
Oh, no. Which has been selling fine wine since... there you go. So this thing from Nigeria, which has been selling fine wine since...
No, not Nigeria. Algeria.
Since 1886.
Well, maybe they're French. I don't know.
The 25 centiliter product called Tandem will arrive in Britain next week at the London International Wine Fair. John C. Dvorak, I'm thinking road trip. The London International Wine Fair. Go figure.
Yeah, that'd probably be good for a laugh. Photo op. Wow. Anyway, so they got a red, a white, and a rosé. We can skip the rosé. We know that's going to be crap. And or just a mixture of the two.
Maybe. Do you think they sell the straws separately?
That would be cool.
Yeah, here, London International Wine Fair. Well, excuse me.
See, the bad news in this article is the following. The annual wine consumption of France has fallen from 100 liters per person to 54 liters per person during the last 40. Nobody's even drinking in France anymore. No wonder the country's in trouble.
Why is that, do you think? That's interesting.
I think it's because of the Muslim influence.
Really?
Well, I'm just guessing. I mean, what else could that and the teetotalers, which are all over the place. I don't know.
For the visitors, the fair can be hugely beneficial. The opportunity to meet with over 1,200 exhibitors from every major producing country all in one place and to taste the new vintage in a relaxed yet professional environment saves time and money.
Yeah, that's what Van Expo is all about. That's just a bigger event. These are for the lazy guys that can't get out of England and take a trip to the continent. But anyway, back to this product. So the guy, I think, was asking me, what do I think? I don't think these are ever a bad idea. And it's nothing new. I mean, Beaujolais used to be in a can in the 70s. It's not that big of a deal. You can still buy wine in bladders all throughout France. You bring your own bladder. It's a big old plastic thing, and you fill it up right from the barrel. And there's still wine in a box that comes out of Bordeaux from various little chateaus. And so this is just taking it to a kind of a junk wine level. I'm sure this wine's not that good. But for just something, if you want to just have some wine to help digest your horrible lunch, if you happen to be working in some place in San Francisco and in a startup where there's no good restaurants, this might be not a bad solution. I think, a couple of these things would be good for you. I
think that this would be potentially a hit with Patricia.
Maybe it might be.
That's interesting.
Maybe the Dutch in general would go for this stuff.
Suck it and see is the Guardian headlines about the wine. Suck it and see. That's a good headline.
One person complained that the problem with this, some snoot, and I as a wine connoisseur collector, I'm not as bad as I sound, but I can see some snoot saying, well, you can't smell it in the glass and blah, 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 blah. This is wines that probably should, even the red wine in this case, should probably be in the refrigerator anyway. And it's not a wine, it's a wine it's a wine as a beverage. It's not wine as a target of affection and intellectualism, where, the nose, it's got the orange blossom smell, so here's the sea breeze.
Here's another data point for you. So this Guardian article that's titled Suck It and See is from September 13th, 2007. And indeed, it's talking about the straw.
Oh, really?
They didn't even have the carton then. So the carton, it seems, was an afterthought. Drinking from the special straws is said to recreate the sensation of tasting wine from a glass. Quote, bringing small wine containers with straws to a party is more amusing than arriving with a bottle.
Huh.
How about that?
Well, we got to get a hold of some of these straws.
I'm telling you, man, that's what caught my eye. I'm like, that is some awesome technology.
It's a hole.
Hey, it's patentable, motherfucker.
Let's put a pinhole in this straw.
A guy patented that shit. And he's got the pinhole in the straw. Here. Yeah.
Now I got to look up sensory straw.
Oh, shit. I should have been Googling that. Sensory straw.
I'm on it. Tetra Pak. Launched sensory straw. Sensory straw makes drinking fun.
Yeah, baby.
Tetra Pak carton ambient sensory straw to be launched in Australia. Sensory straw tackles different taste buds. Oh, bullshit. Tools for innovation. Making milk interactive. They're going to use it with milk for kids. When kids take a sip, the liquid flows in all four directions at the same time, tickling the kids. Let me get this.
Hey, dude. So I was just looking for sensory straw, a patent, right? And so here's what I ran across. It's a different patent. U.S. patent 6129265. Beverage container with entertainment features. That trips me out.
This is interesting. Yeah, it's funny. It is funny. Now, there's on the dairyfoods.com, there's a picture. It's fairly good. It's not a close-up, but it's close enough. You can see the straw. It's got a knob on the end, and I guess it's kind of like it's shaped funny. It's kind of like the thing you get on a Pavoni cappuccino machine, the milk steamer that has the holes going every which way. And that's what it looks like it's modeled after. And so when you suck on this thing, and they sell the straws with flavors in them too.
Oh my God, John! Oh, you're not going to believe this. I'm going to say this is a link you're the Tetra Pak website?
I'm the dairyfoods.com website.
Okay, look at that link. I'm Skyping you right now. So this is the history of this company. Check this out. In 1890, Clemens von Bechtolsheim develops and takes out a patent for the first models of the so-called alpha plates, which are at the very heart of a separator. Wait a minute. Is that the straw? Is that the straw technology? Now I'm confused.
No, this is we're talking at the De Laval family. These are guys who made centrifuges. So we're talking a separator machine able to continue. This is called this is one of those continuous centrifuges. In other words, you don't keep it in a single container, and you can centrifuge stuff out in a process. So it never stops. This is used in the wine business and other.
So these people
processing.
look at 2003. The sensory straw concept was launched. Anuga food tech, whatever. Okay, so they've been sitting on. Man, can you believe it? They've been sitting on this shit and depriving it from us for 5 years. I have not had the pleasure of a sensory straw.
It's a gimmick. Anyway, let's get some of those straws, but let's get some of those wines too. We'll check it out and report back.
Yes, definitely. I think it's. I think it's important.
I love the picture of the kid at the top of this page.
Wait a minute. Let me see. Top of which page?
Of the history page that you were looking at.
Okay, hold on. Let me go back to it.
Of the Tetra Pak.
Just sipping a big mug of wine.
That's not a fuck of wine. It's just this kid looks so happy.
You know why? Because, actually, the kid's not even using the sensory straw. Well, they missed something there. Let's quit while we're still ahead, John.
Yep.
That's a good idea. All right. Hey, can I just say, this was a fun show. I enjoyed it.
We learned something.
Yes, we did. We started a couple businesses. We learned something. And we have homework, which means we have to get some of the tandem wines in a carton with the sensory straw mechanism. Great technology. You know, the astronauts use that on the space shuttle.
Okay.
All right, then. That's it. Coming to you from the Curry Manor in the United Kingdom. I'm Adam Curry.
And from Northern California, I'm John C. Dvorak.
And we'll talk to you again next week right here on No Agenda.